Well, 2 books could soon be banned from the library at a local school district. Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Duffy.
And I'm Nicole Versansky. Some parents and people who live in the community are really in an uproar over the material inside.
That's right. First at 4, Brittany Weir is live with why these parents want these books removed immediately. Brittany.
The Mentor School Board, they are expected to face a heated crowd tonight. Both parents and community members coming out to voice their concerns about 2 different books that are available at 2 different school libraries. The Mentor Board of Education is scheduled to discuss the proposal banning the books right now, Real Kids Speaking Up for Change by Miranda Paul and Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas. The first book is available in the library for students from kindergarten to 5th grade. According to the author's website, the book is made up of mini biographies of children around the world who didn't wait until they were grown to speak up, work for change, and make a difference. According to 2 school board members, the challenge came from a 2nd grader's parents whose child brought the book home from school. Per the challenge, 75 other community members and parents felt the book was not factual, is ideologically biased, and not age appropriate. The second book, Empire of Storms, is available at the Mentor High School Library, which is for students in 9th through 12th grades. The challenge was filed by a retired Mentor School's elementary teacher and former school media specialist. They say the book depicts multiple sexual acts in graphic detail that are not appropriate. In a statement, board member Annie Payne says both of the books challenged are in direct violation of our policies. The material does not support the objectives within several of our policies, nor is it consistent with our school library Bill of Rights. According to the school district, both book challenges were originally brought to the superintendent, who reviewed the books and decided not to pull them. Tuesday's discussion is an appeal of that decision. And it is important to note that neither one of these books is a part of the school's curriculum. They are just available in the libraries. But something that is sure to play a key role in tonight's discussion is the school's policy for challenging library materials. Coming up at 6, I'll dive deeper into that. Live in Mentor, Brittany Weir, 19 News.